Hey, and what is up, movie viewers? Dena Mo Views and Reviews here, asking, what you watching? Well, today I am watching Kindred. I actually watched two different Kindred movies. There are so many with this title, but these two in particular, they have different plots altogether, although they both involved an interracial couple. That seems to be the theme in a lot of movies today. But both Kindred movies included a Caucasian male and a black woman as the stars of the show. Two different movies entitled Kindred. One was a movie and the other was a part of a mini series on FX called Kindred as well. They were both thought-provoking in their own ways, yet similar in one perspective, yet dissimilar on another perspective. Interesting how two opposing things can sometimes be true at the same time. Anywho, let's get into this movie, Kindred. Now, this film called Kindred was released in 2020, and it is labeled as a horror, a thriller, drama. But after watching it, I pondered why it was promoted as such, which is it was kind of odd to me, but I will dive into that just a little bit later on. Now, this movie stars Tamara Lawrence as Charlotte, Edward Holcroft as Ben, Fiona Shaw as Margaret, who is also Ben's mother, Jack Lowden as Thomas, Chloe Piri as Jane, and Antoine Lesser as Dr. Richards. Now, it was directed by Joe Marcantonio, written by Joe Marcantonio and Jason McLogan, produced by Phil Hunt, Jack Lowden, Norman Mary, Morgan Bush, Dominic Norris, and Compton Ross. Now, this movie, it comes on with an interracial couple. It is, once again, a black female, and her name is Charlotte. And there is a male Caucasian who is called Ben. Now, they are an unmarried couple, but they are visiting Ben's mother's home. And she lives in this very large, creepy, raggedy home that is located in Britain somewhere. Now, right off the bat, there is some friction between Ben and his mother. It's quite obvious. He really seems to not want to be around her in her presence. I don't know what happened in his childhood, but it is evident that there is some friction there. Now, he announces that he and Charlotte will be moving to Australia. Now, his mother, she tries to talk him out of it. She doesn't want him to leave. That is her only son. But Ben stands his ground, and Charlotte lets him know that she is proud of him for doing so. He resisted her trying to convince him to stay. Now, during the visit, Charlotte becomes ill, and she's taken to the hospital and is shocked to learn that she is pregnant. She doesn't seem very happy about this at all, and she said she seems as if she's had some mommy issues. There's some things in her past apparently that has happened psychologically with her mother that has given her a complex. So she ends up stating that I'm on the pill for a reason. And the doctor told her that no method of birth control is 100%. I guess there is one. Just don't do it. Don't have sex. Anyway, Ben is he seems to be happy about this discovery. And Ben's mom, Margaret, she's completely overjoyed about hearing that her son is going to have a child, that they're expecting a baby. And she asks them about their getting married and staying in Britain with her, in the house with her. She emphasized that the birth of this child would enable their family's bloodline to continue on. But Ben, he is immediately offended. He's speaking rudely to her, in my opinion, but he lets her know he has no intent on staying there, that he and Charlotte are moving to Australia. And Charlotte again stated that she didn't even know if she wanted this child or if she would even be keeping the pregnancy or not. She didn't want children, so she just wasn't sure what she was going to do. Well, Margaret did not take kindly to their choices to leave. She really didn't want them to leave. She was very disappointed. Now, Charlotte, on the other hand, was more than ready to get out of there. She wanted to go. So Ben and Charlotte are preparing to leave. But before they actually leave, Ben is injured in an accident, and Charlotte is told in the hospital that he is dead. She faints, and when she awakes, she is in Ben's mother's home. She's in Margaret's home. She's waking up in their bed. Now, it is here that she is being taken care of by Margaret and Margaret's stepson, whose name is Thomas. Now, Thomas immediately offers her some hot tea. He's constantly offering her hot tea and preparing her food. Charlotte is being drugged through the food and the beverages that they prepare for her. She tries to leave, but she is prevented from leaving. This cold, big, raggedy, paint peeling house, it looks so scary. There are crows outside and dead insects. But she's even locked into her room there, trying to insinuate that she somehow is having a mental breakdown, when in fact it is the drugs that they have been giving her that's causing her to not know what is going on, because she's falling asleep. She's losing her. They think it's a she thinks it's psychological, but it's actually the drugs that they've been giving her. But she is not even allowed to use her cell phone. She cannot interact with anyone from outside except a so-called friend that turns out to be a part of the scheme as well. Now, this is why I gave this movie a 1 out of a possible 5. The reason is because it started out well to me. It was quite interesting and intriguing, and it caught my attention. I couldn't wait to see where it would lead. I could not wait to see how she would get out of this conundrum. It was a huge buildup, right? It's building. The suspense is overwhelming. Then nothing. I mean, nada. There was no real climax to me. It was like climbing a 50-foot mountain or hill, and you are 4 steps from the top, and you manage to fall and slide all the way back down to the bottom. It was a bit of a letdown for me. All it did for the most part was show how society has the ability to take advantage of and exploit human beings for their own purpose and for their own benefit. And in this case, that was Charlotte, her body. Now, she, being a black woman, had no real power to stop what was happening all around her. Everybody that she dealt with was wicked. They were all in cahoots with one another, and they were completely on code. And their goal was to take this child away from her. And what was interesting is that they would drug her and make her feel so disoriented and confused from the drugs that they put in her food and beverages, that when she would ask questions as to, how did I get here? Who dressed me? Why am I feeling like this? They would make her feel as if there was something wrong with her, as if she was the crazy one. I found that very, very interesting. So it's like they would throw the rock and then they would hide their hands. And I felt like that was so wrong. They used that behavior against her. And they tried to use it as a reference to her mother to imply that somehow she has the same mental problems that her mother had. Margaret was able to keep her there against her will. She had everyone on her side against this black woman. She used the doctor. She used Charlotte's best friend, who was a white female. The medical staff and everyone around her was a part of this scheme to disempower her and get their goal. which was to take away their child. Spoiler alert, that is exactly what they did. I found it interesting that Charlotte's race was never ever even referenced, not once the entire movie. However, every other character around her was white. She was the only black woman, the only black person there in the entire movie. And at no point did she find that a little odd. Anyway, I just found that a little bit odd. Now, Charlotte's mother's mental status was always used to judge her by. And it was used, again, like I said, as a weapon to make her feel like she must have inherited these psychological problems because it's causing her to act odd. Now, I felt that was so wrong of them to do her like that. So she wanted to get away. It was completely disturbing to her that she couldn't get away from them. Now, the suspense was there, but there was just no real pinnacle at the end of this movie for me. It left me wondering, is that it? That's all? And that is why I gave this movie a 1 out of 5 stars. Now, Kindred is not rated, and if you want to check Kindred out, you most certainly can, because it is currently streaming on Hulu. And be sure to stay tuned and check out my movie review for the FX miniseries that is also labeled Kindred. And most of all, I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?